Welcome to 4 Cities and 421 Flies, brought to you by thepricegenie.com.
Welcome back to 421 Flies. Welcome back to doing a charter flight this morning from Bordeaux, France to Toulouse. I couldn't find that. I couldn't find that on the map for my flight plan for a little bit. That's why we're a little bit late this morning. We had these technical difficulties. But yeah, so we're taking these charter flights. These charter contracts out of Bordeaux just for some flight time around the Bordeaux airport. We've got a big flight coming up out of Bordeaux, so we want to be familiar with the area and familiar with the airport. And so we've just been taking these small little charter contracts, these sightseeing trips for Americans and others here in southern France. And so today we're doing a little trip down to Toulouse. Definitely still a virtual pilot in training. However, we still have a sponsor. Yep, pricegenie.com. Peet's Coffee. We drink Peet's Coffee all day long. We do. Especially on flights like this, or the more of the long hauls as well, or those early. You know, in addition to some of these charter training flights, we've been doing some contract cargo flights in the evening, so you might want to catch those later tonight. Just trying to get as many flight hours in as possible. Yeah. This is how you become a professional. You don't become a professional at anything by just sitting on the tarmac. Like, you can't just sit at the airport behind the wheel and make that sound, right? That sound with your voice while you sit behind the wheel and pretend you're flying. You actually need flight time. That's what makes a real virtual pilot, of course. Plus, as you've probably seen on some of these training flights of mine, every plane is different. And so there's a process of, not just learning the dynamics and the physics of each plane, but
you're leaving my airspace radar service. Terminated squawk 7000. Frequency change approved.
Squawk 7000. Frequency change approved. Indica 421. Bordeaux Center Indica 421 is type Daher TBM 9 5 miles north of Lima Foxtrot Juliet Whiskey 2,000 feet. Request flight following.
Indica 421 Bordeaux Center. Squawk 5053.
Squawk 503 Indica 421.
Indica 421 radar contact 4 miles north of Lima Foxtrot Juliet Whiskey 2,000 feet. Altimeter 30.04.
Roger, Indica 421.
.421 Flies Bordeaux to Toulouse, and yeah, as I was saying, the path to a professional virtual pilot is not an easy one. Honestly, it starts with a little bit of ego. Let me show you what I mean by that. Take a look at this part up here. Profile. Okay? Take a look. So when you're in your pilot profile in the anniversary edition, you want to go into your private profile. The logbook is cool too, but this is the place where your ego really takes over. Go into achievements, and if you look here, they've got a whole list of things that you can do. In other words, they've essentially gamified virtual flying in a big way. Now, I know this is even more so in 24. They've got a whole career you can do there. Hopefully we'll get to that at the end of May or early June. But between now and then, there's plenty to do. And you can see I've already hooked up many of these. Nonstop flight, 300 miles, takeoff to landing, 100%. Got that one. Utilize autopilot for 600 miles. Light chop on the green. Land on a grass runway without using any assistance, 100%. Stay on target using an ILS landing. Dead stick landing, 100%. Complete a spotlight event, 100%. Okay, now here's one I'm still working on, okay? Taxi an aircraft a total of 100 miles. Okay, 41%, yeah. Because I was making the mistake of landing the airplane, okay, and not taxiing to the end and shutting off the engine. So it doesn't count. Yeah, you actually have to use the taxiway to get to your parking spot. Land at an airport where wind speeds are in excess of 15 knots without using assistance. That means on the stick, 100%, okay? So got a lot of things. Here's where we're at in the bigger picture, though. And I know this is going to make some of you wince a little bit. Like you're going to wince a little. You're going to get that weird feeling inside, but you have to understand. When ego takes over in a video game, there's no stopping it. You can't stop it. You can't. It drives you nuts. You stay up nights trying to figure out how you're going to accomplish all these things in the shortest time possible with the least amount of effort and money. Okay? You know it's going to affect your life. You just try and minimize it as much as possible. So let's take a look here at what's coming. Accumulate 1,000 hours of flight time, 6%. You do the math. Literally, even if I flew twice a day, it won't be till next year sometime. We're going to try and make up for it with some special events. That's how you get your wing commander stripes. Okay, here's Journeyman, 500 hours. That's like the halfway point, 13%. So, you know, Microsoft and Abzo Studios, whatever, they're putting it out there. Like they're just dangling out there for every virtual pilot to look at and kind of get that feeling, go, you know, I can do this. That's the feeling they're trying to create here. World traveler successfully land at 500 different airports. 6%. Now, this one is interesting right here. This one towards the bottom. And there's a little joke here on this one, okay? Jack of all planes, complete a 300-plus mile flight with every aircraft in the standard edition. Okay. Now, this means several planes without autopilot. Several planes you have to sit on the stick because of the stability issues, okay? 300 miles. It's like 2 or 3 hours, depending. And when you put a mile on there, by the way, 300 miles, that means the flight time is going to be different for every airplane, just so you know. Just so you know. Okay. Landmark spot, yeah, that one's tough too. I can't get the smart cam to work quite good. This one, I'm almost there. SIDS and stars land at 25 different star airports on the world map, 80%. Now, for this one, you have to go and it's usually a very rural airport that's kind of short, kind of dangerous, kind of mountainous. It's got something, and there's plenty of them out there. Complete every activity, probably not this week. Complete 10 activity, probably not this week. IFR flight time, takeoff and landing, 47%. We're getting there. Night owl, 50 hours of flight time at night, 12%. Okay. Accumulate 100 hours of flight time in a single profile. Okay, 68%. Honestly, if I had said if I had sat down and said, yeah, in a month ago, right? If I had said, yeah, I'm going to spend 70 hours in a flight simulator, just trying to spot things in land places, I would have laughed. Today, it's one of the most important things in my life. Okay? I'm just being honest with you. Transparent, open and honest. This is what Microsoft and all these companies do, okay? All these social media companies, they gamify everything, okay? And it's spreading. It's spreading into every area of our life. You're going to go to the store someday, and you're going to register. They're going to be like, sorry, you can't come in the store until you get your email account. And you got to download our app. And you're like, well, I'm starving. I want to go in and go shopping. They're going to be like, now, you got to register here at the store. You can go on our website. And then once you're registered, you can go in the store. And you're like, that's really weird. So you get the app, you register to go in the store just to get some food, just to the grocery store. You get in the grocery store, and immediately like a little fox pops up, a little cute fox. And the little fox is like, would you like to join our game of shopping spectacular? And save money while you do it, and get credits in our store that you can cash in later at our virtual store for our best meat, something like that. So you're like, huh? And the virtual fox is like, yeah. You get to go shopping and play our game. And you'll save money too. And so you're like, okay. And so you go around the store and you're shopping with the little virtual, and then all of a sudden this little notification pops up, bing, and they're like, hey, every time you see Bobby Stock Rabbit, he's the little rabbit at the store that restocks the shelves, take a picture of him with your phone. And suddenly you'll notice around the store there's all these little stickers with Bobby Stock Rabbit. And you'll take a picture of the rabbit and you'll get these little virtual credits. And they're going to have you going around the grocery store, taking pictures of Bobby Stock Rabbit, the little sticker. And by the way, every time you see one of these stickers, there's going to be 10 products on the shelf there they want you to buy. Yeah, like the Stock Rabbit isn't there for nothing. And you're going to take a picture of the Stock Rabbit, and it's going to be like, try our new coffee for 5% off. It's right there in front of you. That's going to be Bobby Stock Rabbit. But the clincher is going to be when you get home. When you get home from this virtual or from this store, this grocery store, where you had to sign up for this app to even get in the door and get your food, and you're chasing Bobby Stock Rabbit around the store. When you get home, they're going to be like, hey, the little virtual fox will come back up. Freddy Fox is going to come back up. He's going to be, hey, would you like to save an additional 10% the next time you go shopping? And you're going to be like, 10% off? Do you know what I just paid for eggs? You know what I just paid for milk? Just the basics? I couldn't even get out of that store without spending $200. That's not even going to feed my family for 4 days. Of course I'll take 10% off. How do I do it? They'd be like, just come shopping after 7 p.m. Don't come to our store at any other time. You got to be there at 7 p.m. And you got to get out of the store by 10 p.m. You get a 3-hour window. Come shopping for just only in that 3-hour window. You got to come in person. And you get an additional 10% off. And you're going to be like, And the first thing you're going to say to yourself is, who's the asshole that thought up that? Who is the asshole that thought about an app and an email and a scheduled window to go get my groceries when literally a year ago I could go 24 hours a day? Now I got to hop through. Who did that? Who came up with that idea? Oh, I'll tell you who. It was Mickey Mouse. Yeah. Mickey Mouse at Disneyland started all of this. It's their fault. So don't be mad at me. All right, flights of fancy, complete flights of at least 300 miles using a prop. Yep, got that one. Hydroplaning. I just started this one. Okay, 50 hours of flight time in rainy weather. And this is part of the reason we're doing our flight on 421. On 421, we'll be flying Bordeaux, France to Seattle, Washington. Just be at the Bordeaux airport, 421. 8.5-hour flight. Pretty crazy. It's going to be fun. But the reason we're picking that time is we're going to be doing part of that at night, so we can clock up some of those flight times at night. And we're going to be it'll depend on what's happening with the live weather, but we may be switching that up to rainy weather so we can clock off some of those hours on that one as well. We'll see. Okay, this is interesting. Gold Rush. Complete the Nevada bush trip. I can't find it. I can't find the bush trip. I can't find the Balkan one. Patagonia, I think, but yeah, some of these I can't find. These could just be legacy things from earlier versions that never got the update. I don't know. We'll see. If you know the answer to some of these questions, please drop it in the comments. I'm fully open. Now, here's the big one right here. Frequent flyer miles, okay? Fly from Bordeaux near the Asobo studio to Seattle, Washington, near Microsoft headquarters. Now, I actually had to look this up because I couldn't figure out what LFBD was. So I just punched in Asobo Studio. And you know what came up on my iPhone? Asobo Studio in Bordeaux, permanently closed. Permanently closed. So I'm assuming that's why they have this in the game. You have to take the flight that the pros and creative professionals at Asobo Studios had to take when they were acquired by Microsoft Studios. Or Microsoft Studios. The Microsoft Mega Headquarters Corporation. Now owning farmland near you. So they had to take that flight. You want this achievement, you got to take that flight. You got to take that flight at night. You got to take that flight in rainy weather. That's how you get your pilot profile up to professional. That's how you take 70 hours and turn it into 105. Yeah, there's some training flights before you do that 8-hour flight. So that's what we're up to over here. The only other one that really caught my eye that's... let's see if I can find it. It's really strange, and I would love to get some feedback in the comments of exactly how this works. Because it didn't make sense to me after I ran the numbers on this. Okay, so there's an achievement in here where, oh yeah, here it is, saddle sore. Okay, I need some help on this one. Okay, and I'm very open-minded, so whatever y'all have to say about this. But okay, so this achievement right here, saddle sore. Yeah, right here, saddle sore. Complete a flight of at least 8 hours with a propeller or turboprop aircraft. Okay, there's a serious problem with that. And let me show you what that serious problem is. Okay, so let's go into available airplanes and take a look. So it has to be a 8 hours turboprop. The one we took today, 5 hours. Nope. Okay, here's one that's 7. Even this one's pretty tough. That airplane is a little unstable. It's okay. It's not my favorite. Here's a 6er. Couple others down here that are 5. Here's the twin at 6, which would be perfect, but it's got to be 8 hours. And so, you can just imagine you go to all the trouble to make an 8-hour flight, and at 6 hours, your plane crashes. Except for one right here. The Spruce Goose. So, according to what I'm seeing here, to get that achievement pinned to your chest and fly 8 hours on a turboprop airplane, which, by the way, I better check because I'm not sure the Spruce Goose is a turboprop. I don't think so. We'll find out. Got to still do our homework on this one. But according to my research here, there's one plane in the game where you can fly a turboprop a full 8 hours, the Spruce Goose. And boy, is that a pain in the ass. So yeah, any comments or feedback on this would be really helpful. Thanks very much.
Welcome back to The Price Genie at thepricegenie.com. This is the face of AI design. Artificial intelligence is going to be everywhere, so why not put it on your shirt? The robots are coming. This is the face of AI. Seriously, this is what AI really looks like. It looks great on aprons, coffee mugs, and coasters for a gift. Shirts, skirts, dresses, hoodies, sweatshirts, baseball caps, dad hats, and bucket hats. They all have the face of AI. We've even got tote bags, duffel bags, blankets, pillows, duvet covers, and shower curtains. Yes, even acrylic block art for your office, all with the face of AI. New items magically appearing every day. Subscribe to the Magic Lamp. It's all at The Price Genie at thepricegenie.com. Quality at great prices.
Welcome back to 4 Cities and 421 Flies.
So the flight, Bordeaux to Seattle. We haven't really come up with a promo name for it. We'll call it something. Still in the works, right? We still got a couple sponsorships out there. We're negotiating for this one. Of course, thepricegenie.com and Pete's Coffee will be in there. This flight is 8 hours. Okay? Bordeaux to Seattle at 41,000 feet. Mach .81 is over 8 hours. So if you want to be on that flight, you need to be at the Bordeaux airport. Bordeaux. 4:21 at 4:21 Bordeaux time. So, and we're going to be doing a lot of training flights before then. Yeah, sure, I can keep this one at 2,000 feet. But when you're flying over the polar ice cap at 41,000 feet, you better know what you're doing. You better...
Contact Blagnac approach on 125.18. Good day.
125.18 Indica 421. Goodbye. Blagnac approach Indica 421 2,000 feet.
Indica 421 Blagnac approach altimeter 30.03 radar contact continue.
Ah, southern France. You can see why people love it, right? Like to come retire here or whatever. I don't know. It's beautiful. Well, it's going to be an exciting time. It's not without its technical difficulties, of course. During the flight, we'll probably be resetting the stream every hour or so, just to make sure. And then, God forbid, there's a network breakdown. If it does happen, we will restart the flight at the appropriate waypoint, and we'll track that during the flight just to make sure. It seems like the only fair way to do it, right? Otherwise, I have to restart the whole thing every day just because there's a network problem or an issue at the data center. That's hardly fair to the pilot. So I think those are good parameters. Yeah? We want to reset the stream every hour because sometimes it's not always perfect. it's not. Sometimes it locks up. It locked up at the beginning of this flight. That's why that's weird. See that weird timestamp in there sometimes? It reverses time back like 36 hours. What does that mean, Twitch? .421 flies live on Twitch, and then we also replay the flights on YouTube and parts on Instagram and X. You can find links to all of the above at my421.com. Okay, right on course. Everything's running beautiful as we do our charter sightseeing flight from Bordeaux to Toulouse. 421 flies. .421 charter sightseeing flight from Bordeaux, France to Toulouse. I got a little air traffic off to our 10 o'clock there. Hello, Sen Sin Ho. It's up at about 36,000 fleet. An A20. It's a nice airplane. We're talking about the flight coming up later this month. The long haul, Bordeaux to Seattle on 421. Just be at the airport at 421. Sponsored by Pete's Coffee. If you'd like to step out of your seats, we're at our cruising altitude of 2,000 for most of the flight. And we've got a little bar in the back there. Pete's Coffee is available. We've got some other snacks. Hope you're enjoying yourselves. Many of you have been wondering, what the heck am I going to talk about? Like, what are we going to do for 8 hours? So I made a list, and I was trying to think, more worldwide. If you're flying around the world, you probably should try to appeal to a worldwide audience. And so if you've got a worldwide audience and they're watching a non-professional virtual pilot fly around the world for 8 hours, one of the topics that should definitely be in the conversation for one of those hours is mental health. Right? You've got a whole world full of virtual people. They're watching a virtual non-professional pilot fly this virtual flight, 8.5 hours virtually, Bordeaux, France to Seattle, in the modern world. I just think mental health should be part of the topics, at least for one of those hours. Then another great one I wrote down here, right? I was looking out the window before we took off, trying to figure this out. Another great tariffs, right? Everyone in the world is talking about tariffs. Most people don't even know what a tariff is. It's a haircut, right? A tariff? That's a haircut. For those of you in the financial world, right? A tariff is a haircut. Okay? Right?
421, contact Pyrenees approach on 128.8. Good day.
128.8 Indica 421. Goodbye. Pyrenees approach Indica 421, 2,000 feet.
Indica 421 Pyrenees approach altimeter 30.02 radar contact continue.
Yeah, so you're a stockbroker, right? Or some other money manager, hedge fund pro fanatic or whatever. You've convinced all these people to throw money in your account, and then you've been like investing it everywhere, right? And things are great. You're cruising around town, Manhattan, right? Living it up, modern life, right there in the modernist city. And then out of the blue, somebody walks, like you're just minding your own business. You're doing what you told everyone you were going to do, and what you were told was the right thing to do. And out of the blue, somebody kind of walks up. Not that it's a bad idea, like in your head, if you're in the financial world, some of this does make financial sense if you're looking at a really big picture. But out of the blue, somebody walks up and goes, hey, you're going to have to take a haircut. And in some places, I'm going to shave almost all of it off. And you kind of look in the mirror, you look in your financial mirror, you're like, I'm doing great. I don't need a haircut. And they're like, nah, you're getting a haircut. Sit down.
Indica 421 contact Toulouse approach on 129.305. Good day.
129.305 Indica 421. Goodbye. Toulouse approach Indica 421, 2,000 feet.
Indica 421 Toulouse approach altimeter 30.02 radar contact continue.
That's a tariff. That is a tariff. Okay? If you don't, if you're not sure what they're talking about, that's what it is. You're in the financial world, you got a 401k or an investment account, whatever it is, however you're connected to this modern world, and someone comes in and says, yeah, you're getting a haircut today. You're like, my hair is fine. Why? I'm looking in the financial mirror right now. I look great. What do I need a You are getting a haircut. That's what a tariff is. So we'll talk about it. The robots are coming. That's another great one. That'll take up more than an hour. Yeah, if I'm on an 8.5-hour flight over the North Pole, I could easily talk about the robots who are coming. And even if nobody wants to talk about it, it's okay. I could just use the robot. I could talk to the robot about it. That might be fun. Another topic I wrote down here, expectations. Expectations. It's like a Jack in the Box, right? You get this new toy, you're like, wow. And so you start winding it up, and then like a few seconds later, boom. That's what expectations are. That's a fun topic too. There's a lot of fun topics. Yeah. So, I don't think we're going to have a problem on 421 at 421 when we take off from the Bordeaux airport on our transatlantic flight over the North Pole to Seattle. And we'll get into what that's all about. We're coming up here on the airport, so we're going to have to prepare for landing. On that 8-hour flight, we know there could be some technical problems. For instance, we're going to reset the stream every hour. So if you happen to be watching on 421, you can, and you see the stream go down, just hang out for a minute. We're probably coming right back. I just think if you don't reset that every hour, at some point, it's just going to peter out anyway. So we want a nice fresh stream pretty much every hour of that 8.5-hour flight. I know a lot of people will just go 8 hours, right? Like they'll just turn on the box and go to sleep. We'll see. And then I cannot remember when I had a full 8.5 hours where the network didn't go down a little bit. Just a little. 8.5 hours is a long time. Like usually you have to be at a telecom hub for that to happen. But at least here in the U.S., in most places. And then I'm in a bit of a rural spot. Like I'm in the preferred Lake Tahoe zone. And while it may have the best views and, 300 days of sunshine, we don't always have 300 days of internet or 300 days of power. So there's these trade-offs. And so if the network happens to go down and the plane crashes, don't worry about it. We'll be back up in the air in a few minutes at the last waypoint. Like that's what's beautiful about virtual flying. If something goes wrong, it's okay. You can restart at the last waypoint. So to me, that's a real advantage. Part of the reason 421 flies. Once again, we want to say thanks to Pete's Coffee and the PriceGenie.com.
421 is 5 miles northwest, 2,000 feet with echo to land.
Indica 421 Blagnac Tower. Altimeter tree 0.00, wind tree 59er at tree. Make straight in runway 14 right. Indica 421 wind tree 59er at tree. Clear to land runway 14 right.
Make straight in runway 14 right.
Ha! Look at that. Now, I will say this during my flight training. These little pattern approaches that the robot throws at you from the airport, sometimes they're spot on. Other times they literally have me approaching into a mountain. Like the pattern approach is perfect into the runway, yeah, except it goes through 2 mountaintops. No. So when I'm using ILS, pattern approach, any of that stuff, I'm very mindful of the landing area I'm going into. It's got to be visual. It has to make visual sense as well as ILS sense. Maybe that Maybe that makes sense. I don't know. Anyway, you get the idea. Gonna do our best to get you down safely. That's for sure. All right. It's not too difficult here. Seen on some of those training flights, flying into those bush landing. I am never going to forget picking out an airport without actually looking at the specifics and then getting there and realizing the grass landing strip that was at a 12-degree inclination was barely 2,000 feet. You can watch that very unsuccessful landing at 421.com. It's great. Really great. All right. Really great weather, so I should be able to just drop it right in there, right? Like, this shouldn't be too difficult. And this probably is my favorite airplane. Getting a lot better at these ILS landings, but if it's just on the stick, honestly, this plane is one of the best. It's one of the... I found a couple planes in there that were actually... They're a little slower, so if you're on the true sightseeing bush trip, you know, some of these animal photography missions, or short runways or very rural runways, those planes actually are best, like the Cessna, a couple of the other ones. Those are not too bad either. So I guess we all have our favorites, right? Coming in hot. There we go. Welcome to Toulouse, France. Francais.
Take a 421, turn next taxiway. Indica 421, contact ground on 121.9er.
121.9er Indica 421. Goodbye.
I know some of you are out there laughing because I still use the markers. Yeah. Honestly, I've turned them off a couple times, and then there's a couple times where I just completely ignored them, and it didn't make a huge difference. I guess I like to know where the robot recommends, but I can always make my own decision, right? Controlling the stick, as long as I turn you off, right? Makes a difference in an airplane. Whoops! Sorry about the lights. That's what happens. Oh, there's another $60. This is how you get the most points. You actually have to get it to the parking space you've been assigned without killing the guys on the ground. It is a 5-prop propeller, so it's pretty dangerous. I think that's good enough. Let's get the parking brake on. Then for us, it's all about stopping the prop here at 421 Flies. Thanks once again for joining us this morning for the charter sightseeing flight from Bordeaux to Toulouse. Brought to you by thepricegenie.com and Pete's Coffee. We'll see you soon.
We sure hope you've enjoyed your flight. See you next time. 421 Flies at 4 cities.
You know what blows my mind? A recent study found that 68% of relationship-ending conflicts start with seemingly trivial disagreements, like how to make the perfect cup of coffee.
That's such a fascinating statistic. What made you bring that up?
At The Price Genie, we keep an eye on research. Well, I just came across this story that perfectly illustrates this. A young couple whose relationship is potentially unraveling over their morning coffee routine. He's 24, she's 23, and they've been living together for 6 months when things started getting intense.
Intense over coffee. That seems a bit extreme.
So here's what happened. This guy had this sweet morning ritual of making coffee for his girlfriend. But she started demanding this incredibly precise method, measuring grounds to the exact gram, pre-warming mugs for exactly 30 seconds, specific milk temperatures.
Oh wow, that's getting into professional barista territory. How did he handle all these new requirements?
At first, he tried to accommodate everything because, in his words, if she loves coffee that much, I want to make it nice for her. But it turned into this daily interrogation about every single detail of the process.
You know, this reminds me of research showing how criticism in relationships typically follows gender-specific patterns. What happened next?
Well, things reached a breaking point when she actually took his carefully made coffee, dumped it down the sink, and started making it herself while lecturing him about doing it wrong. Relationship experts call these kinds of moments sentinel events, seemingly minor incidents that reveal major underlying issues.
That's such a powerful example of how these small conflicts can escalate. How did people online respond to this?
The response was fascinating. One comment got over 19,000 reactions saying, "If I ask my boyfriend to do something for me, I accept that it is a favor, and I can't be picky." But what's really interesting is how this reflects broader patterns in relationship dynamics.
Tell me more about those patterns, especially the gender differences you mentioned earlier.
So research shows that men typically respond to criticism by withdrawing, which is exactly what this guy did by saying, "Make your own coffee." Women, on the other hand, often try to regain control through increased specificity, like these detailed coffee instructions.
That's really interesting how these gender-typical responses can actually make conflicts worse instead of better.
Exactly. And what's particularly fascinating is that studies show these daily interactions are actually better predictors of relationship success than how couples handle major conflicts. It's these small moments that either build or erode trust over time.
So what do relationship experts suggest for handling these kinds of situations?
Well, the key is recognizing when something is actually about the surface issue, in this case, coffee, and when it's about deeper patterns. Research indicates that couples who can identify these underlying issues are 67% more likely to resolve conflicts successfully.
That makes so much sense. How can couples start recognizing these patterns?
One effective approach is what therapists call the pause and reflect method. Before reacting, ask yourself, is this really about coffee, or is it about feeling respected and appreciated? Studies show this simple pause can reduce relationship conflicts by up to 30%.
These statistics really put things in perspective. What's your take on the future of this coffee-conflicted couple?
Well, relationship experts suggest that couples who can turn these conflict points into opportunities for growth have a much better chance of long-term success. But here's the kicker. Research shows that 85% of relationship issues are actually unsolvable. It's not about fixing everything. It's about managing these differences effectively.
That's quite a sobering statistic. What's the key takeaway for couples facing similar situations?
The most crucial thing is understanding that these small daily interactions, whether it's making coffee, doing dishes, or folding laundry, are really opportunities for showing love and respect. When we get too caught up in perfection, we lose sight of the connection these rituals are meant to build.
That really brings everything full circle, from coffee to connection.
And perhaps that's the real lesson here. Sometimes a cup of coffee isn't just a cup of coffee. It's a daily opportunity to choose between perfection and connection, between criticism and appreciation. The question is, which one are we brewing in our own relationships? Check out some of our favourite coffees at thepricegenie.com. They feature some very tasty organic blends we know you'll love.
Sharing a good cup of coffee can really do wonders for your relationships.
Visit www.thepricegenie.com to live and love better and learn more.